Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update. When I was a teenager, my brother assaulted me. My parents never believed me and did nothing. Now they demand me to save my father and apologize to my brother. Original post. When I was a teenager, my brother violated me. Despite me being 2 years older than him, he was bigger and stronger than me. He threatened to hurt me, told me that no one would believe me, and kept doing it until I had enough and told my parents about it. Sadly, he was right. My parents didn't believe me. They were really mad and punished me hard for saying those horrible things about my brother. He was always their favorite, so they couldn't believe he'd done that. I tried really hard to convince them, even showed my mother the bruises on my legs and the marks of his bites, but she refused to believe me. The moment I was able to, I ran away from home. For years I resented them, even hated them. My brother for what he did, and my parents for doing nothing to help me. They only knew the truth because one day my brother was really drunk and told my dad about it. He told him how I was his first and how much fun he got from me. They contacted me and I believed they would apologize, offer me help, or even make my brother face the consequences of what he did. But no, my mother's idea was that everyone must admit we all do wrong, we all made mistakes, and forgive each other for everything, so we could keep that in the past and became a happy and united family again. I left them and never talked to them again. That's the moment I decided they were not my family anymore. Now in the present, after several years, lots of struggles, and a long time in therapy, I'm finally having a happy life. I'm married to a wonderful man and aiming to someday start a family with him. Then recently my mother found me. My father is sick and his liver is failing and needs a new one. My mother knows that my blood type is the same as my father's, so she reached me to do a test so I could donate my liver to him. I told her no. I just can't. Not to him, not to any of them. She said that I owe him that at least, that I was being an ungrateful daughter, that he is my father, and that's the least I can do for the family. That I have no right to be so spiteful for a silly teenage mistake, and I was killing him in saying no. I tried to stay strong, until one day my brother contacted my husband. Besides telling him about my father's situation and how I said no, he told him lots of awful things and lies about me, saying how I used to be an easy one, a liar, that I offered myself to everyone. He even lied about how I took advantage of him, even mentioned details of my body that would be impossible to know in a normal situation. He called me the worst scumbag to ever lived. My husband didn't know anything about my past. I only told him that my family was horrible, but never told him everything. He didn't believe him, but he wanted to know the truth and asked me my version. I broke down and cried like never before while I told him everything. He hugged me all that time, making me feel protected. My mother and brother are still harassing me, trying to guilt me until I accept to do the tests. They even demanded that I apologize to them. My husband has helped me a lot with them, keeping them away. I feel like I'm back in my teenage years, feeling so scared, weak and vulnerable. I believed I had overcome that part of my life, but I see that I haven't. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Screw M. You don't owe them anything. If they keep harassing you, tell them you'll get the police involved if they try and contact you further. You might also want to look into getting a restraining order on your brother and mother, using the constant harassment and character defamation your brother committed when he called your husband. I'm going to try to get the restraining order. I don't want them in my life. Please do. Cutting off and out the cancerous parts of the family by any means necessary is never a bad idea and will only make your life and mental health better. Interesting. Let's see how much your mom is willing to forgive you, despite your justified refusal to help your father. She would never do something like that. I'm still the villain of her story, the one who tried to destroy the family and refused to do the right thing. They refused to do the right thing when they refused to help you from being repeatedly violated. As you said, they aren't family, any more than a tumor is your family. Screw them, protect yourself. I'm sorry you didn't have a father who would protect you. I'm sorry you didn't have a mother who would nurture you. I'm sorry you didn't have a brother that would look out for you. Your husband and anyone else you choose is your family now. I hope you get the love you were denied as a child. Thank you so much. Indeed, my husband and the ones I choose are all the family I need. Your family is a flaming bag of crap. Contact your cell phone provider and see if they can block their numbers permanently and or take out a restraining order against them. Your family is who you consider family. Blood relation no longer means family from the moment they refuse to listen and disrespected your boundaries. You don't owe them anything and don't have to do anything you don't want to. As others have mentioned, keep track of their harassment and install cameras in your home if you haven't done so already. And now for the update. I want to thank all of you. These last few days have been terrifying. Lots of things happened and I don't know where to start. I felt weak and defenseless, and I was about to break down multiple times. But all your support helped a lot, helped me to comprehend I'm not the monster here, that they had no right of anything from me. Having people telling me almost every day that they are the evil ones, and the support of my husband had made me stay strong. I don't know how to say thank you enough to all of you. After reading your comments, I tried to take all your advice. I asked to talk with them, to get information and maybe some recordings. My husband stayed at my side all the time, something that my mother hated, saying multiple times that he had nothing to do there, that this was only family issue, that she doesn't recognize him as my husband, because we never married on their community's church. But I told them he is with me, even if they don't like it. They weren't lying, my dad is dying, and it's way worse than I thought. He needs my liver soon, and apparently I was their last option. They believed that I would bend and do anything they ordered the moment they contacted me, just as I used to when I was a child, but not anymore. As some suggested, I started to record every conversation with my phone. I tried to make them admit about what happened and their role in it, because as some told me to, I investigated, and what my brother did to me does not prescribe. But it was meaningless. Mom just keeps saying that never happened, that all was lies, that I'm insane and only wanted to hurt the family. I even told my dad that I would take the test if they helped me, to testify or sign a document saying what my brother did to me, but again, it was useless. Mom keeps saying that never happened and I was lying, and Dad, he acted like I insulted him, saying things like, "How I dare you try to extort them with something like that, that I should be ashamed for everything I did to them, and that I should be the one kneeling in front of them, begging for their forgiveness, and offering everything I had to save his life." After everything that happened, even in that situation, they still believe I'm the problematic child they always claimed I was, that they still had authority over me, and that I owe them this. I was done after that. I told them I'm not doing that they have no right to ask me anything, that I don't consider them my parents since they enabled my brother to do that to me. My husband and I left them. But on the way to the car, my mother followed us, yelling at me for killing my own father. She even quoted the Bible saying that I should obey my father and mother, but looks like I wanted to add another sin to my list. Since then, the harassment became worse. I'm getting called every day, lots of awful texts, calling me selfish, calling me murderer. I tried my best to keep and look strong, but I had been breaking down in tears every day in the shower. It still hurts. We tried for the restraining order, but it's going to be stupidly slow, as they don't believe I'm an immediate risk. And because it's December and people don't do much on these days. But my breaking point was 2 days ago, when my mother called again. I take all the calls and record them, to try to have something that will help me in case she says something or admit what my brother did. But this time she went right to hurt me. She always knew how to hurt me, what buttons press. She told me lots of awful things, like how they told everyone in their community that I ran away because I was an addict and became a prostitute, that I was a shame, that I will burn in hell for killing my father, for lying and turning my back to the family. She told me how I was damaged goods, that no one would ever really love me for not being pure, that man I call my husband would use me, get bored, and leave me as the trash I am, and that every man would do the same. She kept on it for 30 minutes. I tried to reply at the beginning, make her say something, make her to commit a mistake, but at some point it was too much. I couldn't stand anymore and break. My husband found me on the floor. I was a crying mess, shaking. I tried to be strong, to face them, to maybe find some justice for what he did, but I couldn't take it anymore. I'm just not that strong. He hugged me while I cried. I begged him to never leave, to love me, to take me away from there. I didn't want to know anything about them. He let me cry and supported me until I fell asleep. I don't know how he did it, but I woke up in bed. It was 4 a.m. when I woke up, and he was still awake taking care of me. I told him that I couldn't do it anymore. I can't stand against this, the transplant, trying to make my brother pay. I was done and just wanted to escape. He told me that we would do anything I wanted, as long as I was safe and happy. Yesterday he came to me and asked me if I really meant what I said about an escape. I told him yes, I wanted to just get out, turn off my phone, and to not think about any of this, so I was impatient for our trip as every year we stay with his family for Christmas and New Year. His family is amazing and those days are super fun. Well, he said that we could have little vacations before our vacations. He said that after a little research, he got us a trip to Las Vegas and Disney. He got everything ready, only needed to confirm, so he was asking me if I really wanted to get out. I was shocked. I freaking love Disney and always wanted to go to Disneyland. I wanted to say yes, but how are we going to pay it? We are not poor and have some savings, but everything he was offering me sounds really expensive. To put you in context, my husband loves video games, and beside our own savings, he has been saving to buy a complete gaming setup. He wanted to buy it for his birthday, but he told me that after he saw me and how I was, he needed to do something, so he decided to take that money and use it. This is one of the most beautiful things he had done for me. I cried and hugged him, and now we are going to the USA. I'm aware this is not a solution, and these monsters will still be there when I return. But with this, I'm getting away from them, to have peace and fun, and to be surrounded of people that love and care about me. To me, that is a win. I notified the hospital that I'm being pressured into being a donor, and that I don't want to do it. That now, no matter what, I'm not giving him anything. I send a final text to my mother, saying I will never do it, to stop harassing me and never try to talk to me again, and that I will go to the police and do everything I can to put my brother in jail. I don't want any of them in my life again. I blocked my mother's number and every unknown number that they had used this past few days, and I'm going full no contact again. It's going to be hard, long, and painful, but I had my husband's support and all you beautiful Reddit people. Again, thank you and happy holidays to everyone. You are doing right by yourself in doing what you are doing, but do make sure to keep all the evidence you can just in case something happens. But be prepared for gaslighting like what they were doing before. Keep hard evidence that cannot be explained away, such as text or recordings. My guess is they won't stop until they have you under their control again. That means doing everything they want you to do, and only doing what they approve of. If your brother tries your husband again, try and make sure he also records and saves. Thanks. We are keeping everything. Lol, you can't murder someone by depriving them of a freaking transplant. Life is finite, it ends, it's supposed to. That's why health is so precious. Your family sound as screwed in the head as mine. I disowned both sides 11 years ago. No contact means no contact. Don't check anything, don't leave your guard down anywhere or anytime, but don't care either. After about a year, it will feel like things were always this way, and just so peaceful. I've also been divorced in another country after 10 years of marriage, and left with nothing, to start over from the bottom. I got on just fine. Believe in yourself, blood doesn't mean anything, real family won't ever treat you like that. You got this, and you aren't alone, nor the first, nor the last to have to do this. Stay strong, OP, you've got this. Enjoy Disney and let your family rot. Thank you. I will enjoy it. I wanted to go since I was a child. While in Vegas, send a video of you doing shots, and then block them in every aspect you can. They really reap what they sow. Besides, I'm sure your father is in need of a better liver, and not from some cheap woman as they like to say. That would be a great idea, but I don't want to have any type of contact with them at all. Now for the last story. My wife and son blame me for my oldest son's death. 10 years ago, my oldest son started a job working the graveyard shift. He was 20 years old. He was having trouble staying awake on his drive home from work in the mornings. So he came to stay with me because I lived closer to his job, because he still had 2 weeks before he moved into his new apartment real close to his job. After about 4 days of him staying with me, I forgot about him having trouble staying awake on his drive home in the morning. I had gotten an all-inclusive ticket to a baseball game, and I was taking my youngest son and all his friends. When I came home from work that day, I was excited about the game and I wasn't thinking. I woke up my oldest son out and asked him if he wanted to go to the game. He looked at me crazy and then got up to go to the restroom without saying anything. His mother walked in at that time and saw him and said, "Boy, what are you doing up?" My son replied, "Some fool woke me up." We went to the game, and that next morning when I was at work at 8:17 a.m., my son had fallen asleep and went head-on into an 18-wheeler and killed. My wife and youngest son knew about me waking him up, and they held it against me. Within 2 years, my son had moved off for college, and my wife divorced me. For 10 years, I've been living with this debilitating guilt and self-loathing. It has ruined my life. I'm on medications for severe depression and PTSD. I lost my business, my house, my wife, both my sons, my health, and my dog. I sit here 10 years later still suffering from that eventful day. Every day I hear the words, "Some fool woke me up." Every day I see his burned-up body and images in my head. I recently wrote this article for another sub, and got a lot of good advice. I haven't seen or talked to my wife and son except a handful of times in the past 10 years. I'm thinking about confronting them, even now that I'm divorced and my son is married with a kid that I've never met. I need some type of closure so I can finally heal. How do I confront them and try to get them back in my life? Or should I just let sleeping dogs lie? I really miss my younger son and want to be a part of my granddaughter's life. Now for the top advice. Oh wow, I'm incredibly sorry to hear about this heartbreak. I can't imagine. Truthfully, it seems as if your ex-wife and younger son were looking for answers and for someone to blame, and you unfairly became that person. I'd be willing to bet your older son had sleeping issues outside of you asking him to a game, and living the rest of your life blaming yourself is doing absolutely no one any good. You deserve a life as well. Have you or are you in therapy to address some of these issues? As for your ex and son, I'd focus on your son. See if he's open to a conversation. Tell him how much you miss him and how you want to be in his life. Start small and see if he's open to the idea of it. You all lost a family member that day, and I'm so sorry your loss continued. Yes, I spent several years in counseling and saw a psychiatrist. It helped some, but the depression always came back. I have learned to live with it, but I want my son back in my life. I'm just not sure how to do it. You just start. Reach out to him by email, letter, or message on social media, whichever you have access to. Just start by being honest about how much you miss him and ask if he'd be okay talking and maybe reconnecting. I have messaged him dozens of times in past years. When I found out about medical school, when I found out he got married, when I found out he bought a house, had a child, and on and on. He never answers me back. Oh my god, OP, my heart breaks for you. You certainly have complex PTSD. I don't know if you've sought therapy or if you've heard this before, but it is not your fault what happened. It is so obvious you loved your son. That accident did not happen because you woke your son up. It sounds like he was chronically sleep deprived or having trouble adjusting to an unnatural sleep cycle. I am also someone who is so defined by someone dying. Please message me if you want to. I'm so sorry, OP. Thanks, that means a lot. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Am I wrong for asking my ex to pay child support I think he owes? My ex and I were married for about 10 years, and during the entire marriage, he brought home about 10% of the income. He had this thing about not working for anyone but himself, so he started one failed business after another. The one good thing about my ex is his work ethic, and he worked at least 100 hours a week on his businesses, and sometimes he would sleep for only a couple of hours a day. That meant that I was both the breadwinner and did most of the work raising our daughters. We fought constantly until I finally had enough of feeling like a single parent, so I divorced him. In the divorce, he agreed to not sue for child support and alimony. In turn, I agreed to not move the girls more than 50 miles from him. I eventually remarried to a wonderful man and had 3 more children. My new life is wonderful with a partner who contributes equally. My husband works a normal job, helps raise our children, helps out with housework, and loves my daughter as his own. My ex's business took off, and he's now firmly in the 1%. He bought his parents a $1 million home. He also bought himself a $1 million house just for the location, tore down the house, and built a bigger house on the land. He's fully paying for our oldest daughter's college, and intends to pay for the younger one when she goes next year. The problem is, my husband got laid off about 6 months ago, and due to the state of the economy, has been unable to find another job in his field. Money is getting tight, and we had a discussion. He brought up the fact that my ex was a deadbeat during our marriage, and now that he's doing well, he owes me money. I agreed, so I brought it up to my ex and asked him to pay me for all of the years I paid for him. He had the audacity to actually laugh in my face. We got into a huge argument, and now our daughters are mad at me. I told them they're too young to remember me paying for all of the groceries and our rent. They're too young to remember the weeks upon weeks that I was the only one home to take care of them. I told them they see their dad as he is now, not as the guy back then who begged me for gas money. I'm not asking him for money out of the blue. I supported him for 10 years and basically raised our girls alone. I think he owes me for that and told him so. Now for the top comments. You're the idiot. Asked him to pay me for all of the years I paid for him. That's not how it works. You cannot ask for your money back. You accepted to financially support him at the time, and unless you have a contract with him, he doesn't owe you anything. The only thing he owes you is the child support a judge or a mediator will decide is fair. No more, no less. Also, he agreed not to sue you for child support years ago when he was poor. If you decide to go in front of a judge for child support, the judge will take those years of you not paying into account, and you might end up having to pay him big time. The ex made 10% of her income, so he was definitely due alimony and child support. If they go in front of a judge now, I don't think it'll go the way she thinks. You're the idiot. God, you're the idiot. The sheer audacity to ask for child support when he's already fully paying for both kids' education, just because he got lucky with one business. And let's be clear here, don't call this child support because this isn't about the kids, it's about your money-grubbing entitlement. He doesn't owe you anything. You're the idiot. He doesn't owe you anything. You two were married, things didn't work out, and the two of you made an agreement and went your separate ways. And he's fully paying for both daughters' school now. The problem is my husband got laid off about 6 months ago, and due to the state of the economy, has been unable to find another job in his field. Then tell him to get a job in a different field, even if it's less lucrative. He called your ex-husband a deadbeat and you agreed, despite him working 100-hour weeks. Maybe your current husband who hasn't worked at all in 6 months and won't get a job in a different field is the deadbeat. I'm not asking him for money out of the blue. I supported him for 10 years and basically raised our girls alone. I think he owes me for that and told him so. You never thought that until your current unemployed husband brought it up. Next story. Am I wrong for refusing to pay child support to my ex-wife for our children, so she and her husband can save for their other kids? My ex-wife and I are the parents of a daughter who is 17 and a son who is 15. We share custody of our kids 50-50, and we have been divorced for 13 years now. Neither of us pays child support because we have equal time with the kids, and we split the costs of everything: school, medical, dental, extracurriculars, etc. I opened up bank accounts for my kids when each was born, and I have saved from the get-go, but around 8 or so years ago, I came into some money because I was injured at work, and I put that money into their accounts. As well as this, a relative died 4 years ago, and I was left a sum of money that also went into the accounts for my children. The money I have now saved for them will help them tremendously in their futures, whether they go to college or not. My ex-wife remarried several years ago. Her stepdaughter is 16, she's got a nephew of her husband's that they are raising who is 14, and she has a 7- and 5-year-old with her husband. Ex-wife wanted to talk to me about college for our kids, and she told me that she and her husband had told all their kids that community college would be the most affordable option for them, and that they would get as much help as possible, but a more expensive school would be tough on them. I told her that our kids would have that option if they wanted it, because I have saved a more than healthy amount for them. She asked me why I never told her sooner, and I told her because I was taking care of our children, and it wasn't something she needed to know. A few days after this talk, she called me, and alongside her husband, said that they would like me to pay child support for our kids so that they can save more money for their other children's futures. I told her I was not going to pay her child support, just so she could support the other children in her home. Her husband told me I could always offer to split the money between all of the children. I told him I was not paying for his kids to go to college. I told them I only had a responsibility to my children. I told them if they wanted to save more money, I would happily take the kids more if my kids want to spend more time at home with me. Ex-wife called me cruel and said keeping 50-50 and paying money so our kids' siblings can go to college should be a no-brainer for me. I told her the day I have an obligation to help her support her entire household is a day in another universe where we never broke up. But we did, and she has to accept she is equally responsible for our kids as me. They both told me I was a jerk, and even though I feel like I'm crazy for asking, I must ask, am I wrong? Edit to add, the courts did not order child support because I only make a little more than my ex-wife, and I was well below the threshold they used to determine child support in 50-50 custody cases. I have control of the money. My children are aware it is there and we have talked about it, but they are still undecided on their future plans. They do not have access to the money yet. Not wrong. Also, I'd be extra careful with the college funds. Your kids could be bullied into sharing with their step and half siblings in the future. This OP needs to keep control of the money. Pay the college bills, tuition, room, etc. directly for the first year or so. If he passes all the money to his kids, they may be pressured to give some to the other kids. My son's grandmother left a substantial amount of money to my son's dad, and he allocated a large amount for my son to get a start in life, which included covering college and money left over for major expenses including a down payment on a house in the future. My ex would give my son essentially a payday twice a month for my son's needs, and it was adjusted based on my son's expenses when he moved into an apartment, etc., but only allocated large amounts based on needs such as tuition, etc. It worked out well while my son was in college. This is an excellent option, and therefore is a good way to maintain control of the money. Not wrong, and they are trying to sucker you into paying for their kids. Don't budge. Her ex and her husband are on different planets. Paying child support for their kids is easier for them than for you, and you can't afford to send their kids to college. We take no responsibility for any of their abilities. The claims they make here are absolutely amazing. Next story. Am I wrong for telling my sister that neither her nor her family are welcome to celebrate Christmas with us? I, 32 female, am a mother of 2 kids, 5 female and 2 male. I do not get along with my family. Actually, I've been no contact with my parents for more than 10 years. My husband, 35 male, grew up in this system his whole life, so when we got serious, we dreamed of having the picture-perfect family life that we didn't have while growing up. I have been doing everything I can to make Christmas magical for my small family. Every room is decorated, including bathrooms, elaborate lights and decorations on the outside. I stuff advent calendars, make cookies almost every day, matching pajamas, postcards for our friends, and so on. Also, we go all out on gifts for our kids. I reconnected with my sister last year. We talk online and have had one face-to-face meeting when she visited my city. She is also married with 3 kids, all under 12. Her husband is unemployed, she works retail, and they have a ton of medical debt. I guess she has been going through my social media lately, and she has seen how we celebrate Christmas in our house. Then she contacted me, and after a couple of minutes, she said that they were planning to spend Christmas with us as a gift. I said that I appreciated her gesture, but that Christmas for us is just for our small family. We do not like to include the extended family. She kept insisting that it would be fun, and that my kids would absolutely love to celebrate with their cousins. My kids have never even met their cousins. I kept insisting that it would not be possible for us, and then she switched tones and started telling me that they couldn't afford Christmas for their kids, that they just wanted the kids to have a fun holiday for once. I sympathized with her, but told her again that it would not be possible for them to spend Christmas with us. Then she asked me for some money to help with Christmas expenses. I told her that we do not have any extra funds this month, but that I have a $100 budgeted for gifts for her family that I could send her. She asked for more, but I turned her down. That was when she got angry at me. She said that I was a selfish witch, that it wasn't fair that her kids would not get to celebrate Christmas, while I am throwing money out the window on my vanity project of a house. I hanged up on her, then sent her this exact text: "I am sorry that you and your family are struggling, but I will not be sacrificing our family traditions for your ease. I will be sending you a $100 as a gift for the kids, but neither you nor your family are welcome to our family Christmas. I will expect an apology when you cool down, otherwise don't bother contacting me again." I still stand behind my decision to not have them celebrate with us, but I am feeling guilty for how I worded it. So am I wrong for using the phrase, "You nor your family are welcome to our family Christmas"? Now for the top comments. Not wrong. You don't have to invite her, and it's pretty entitled how she tried to invite herself. You set your boundaries and put your family time first. That's completely fine. Your sister needs to mind her own business. Right. Also, how much you want to bet she'd expect OP to buy extra presents for her kids so they don't feel left out? So you said you reconnected last year. Was it over social media? I'm thinking she reached out just because she saw you were doing better and might be a good mark. Not wrong, this woman is just a leech. You reacted exactly right, and stick to your guns. The more you give in to this woman, the more she's gonna expect. She is jealous and after handouts. You have worked hard as a family unit, so you deserve your happiness without letting jealousy ruin the happiness of you and your family. Not wrong. Not only is it rude to invite you and your family over, it's worse to insist on it after being refused. No is no. This is how you get no contact like you just did. And the $100 is very generous. I wonder why her husband is unemployed. That is likely part of the reason why they are not having a good Christmas. And many of your vanity projects for Christmas can be done fairly inexpensively yet look pricey, especially if you do it yourself and get goods at sales and thrift stores. She doesn't know how much you spent, etc. I hope she doesn't know where you live. They may show up as a surprise Christmas gift, so be ready if it happens. If they show up out of nowhere, they will not be getting in, and might even get the police called on them for trespassing. Absolutely this. We had a family member who was notorious for just showing up to crash at families' homes. He was beyond offended when he tried that and got escorted by the cops off my property. Last story. Am I wrong for not sharing ownership of my dream car with my boyfriend? I entered my current relationship with a car I purchased while I was in college. At the time, my boyfriend did not have a driver's license or vehicle of his own. For a year, I pushed for him to get his license, offered to teach him in the little banger I had, even drove him to the DMV and bought the book for his G&M license. He neglected to even open them. After getting tired of paying for repairs on this car, a 2008 Yaris, I decided to go to a dealer and trade it for a newer car, a 2016 Juke. Again, I offered to teach him to drive and pushed him to take the test for his G1. After almost a year of owning the new car, he finally went and got the G1, and I started giving him driving lessons. But after a year, I got a job making far more money than I had been, and had also saved multiple years' worth of tax returns to be able to put a down payment on the car of my dreams, a 2-door Wrangler for off-roading. My boyfriend is atrocious with money, has been bankrupt in the past, overspent on money to the point of me needing to cover 100% of bills, often leaving me to make the choice between making a car payment or pay for groceries. We had a plan to purchase him a car with a loan he was approved for, but in his time off, spent all $15,000 of it. Frustrated, I drove to a Jeep dealer and traded the Juke for a Wrangler, making myself the sole owner of the vehicle, not wanting to have his irresponsibility affect my credit any longer. He blew up, saying that the Juke was his, and it was the car he was supposed to learn to drive in, and I was supposed to keep it and keep making payments on it so he could have a car too. Angry, I told him he wasn't allowed to drive the Wrangler, mostly because her is very neglectful on the road, and I had upgraded to steel front and rear bumpers and didn't want him to off someone. I made him borrow a friend's accent to learn and get his G2. I feel like the a-hole for not including him on the purchase, nor allowing him to use it when we are in a relationship, but felt my financial responsibility deserved to be rewarded and protected. You need to dump him. He's entitled, completely untrustworthy with money, mooching off of you shamelessly, and too incompetent to drive. Not wrong, but why the heck are you still with him? Can you seriously see a future with this person? There is no future with this dude. Not marriage nor kids. And not even next month's rent or groceries. Why stay? Yo. OP, your boyfriend is like a 2008 Yaris. He got the job done, but mostly you're just dumping money in to keep him alive. He's not a partner, he's a dependent. Now, imagine going out to the boyfriend dealer and picking out a new one. He'd have that new boyfriend smell. You can get one with steel-toed boots, which is great for rough terrain. Maybe find one who also likes being smart with money. You've got a chance to upgrade here. Not wrong if you take it. Did you really have to ask if you're an idiot for not putting your boyfriend's name on a car you 100% paid for? I hope you're like 19. I'm 26. I probably have myself to thank for everything I allow after not seeking proper help post fleeing a violent relationship. I am being medicated for anxiety and PTSD now though. Listen, I think people throw this accusation around on this sub too much, but I'm gonna say this because you have a history of intimate partner violence. His implying he was entitled to your car because he wanted to use it, and becoming enraged as a result, feels very much like the early stages of emotional mistreatment to me. Ask yourself honestly if you're downplaying his controlling and manipulative tendencies, because they're not as bad as the physical harm you've suffered before. I have a strong hunch that's what's going on. You should get the heck out. You know it won't get better, and it will probably get worse.